Hello, this is going to be a video overview of our Week 6's second test essay, which is the comparison and contrast essay. As I always advise you, please do not just jump straight into writing the comparison and contrast essay. I really would like for you to look over the modules that I have available to you for this essay, which include lots of handouts, outline templates, also student examples, so you can use those as a reference. In just a moment, I'm going to overview the modules and also overview the potential topics and points that will help you with this assignment. All right, well, I'm going to show you the modules.
Now, there are several things that I highly encourage you to print out. The first is this letter A, comparison and contrast essay overview. So please print that out, and it's going to look like this, okay? Now, just remember that the purpose of a comparison and contrast essay is to discuss both the similarities and differences of two topics. Now, I want to emphasize this needs to be both a comparison and contrast essay. I don't want it to be just comparison, where you look at the similarities of two topics. And I also do not want it to be just a contrast essay, where you only discuss the differences between the two topics. I want you to try as equally as possible to discuss similarities and differences. So you may have, 3 points, or you may have 4 points. If you have 3 points, it might be a mixture of similarities and differences, the same with the 4. Now, as far as your topics and your points, I do want you to understand that you have several options. I'm hoping that your example illustration essay helped you in making some future decisions, and I also highly anticipate that your comparison and contrast essay may help you in deciding some future just debates that you may have about your, whether it's your college career, your professional life, or even maybe where you live on a personal level. So you have 4 options. You can compare and contrast 2 colleges or universities. You can compare and contrast 2 companies or businesses, or you can compare and contrast 2 military branches if you're considering service, which if you are, I thank you for your sacrifices and appreciate my freedoms because of them. And finally, you can compare and contrast 2 cities. Now, as far as what I mean by you're going to have to discuss points. Now, when you select your 2 topics, let's say you're going to discuss 2 colleges or universities. You probably have 2 colleges or universities you're debating between right now. Maybe you're considering transferring from, Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College to a university, but you're not sure which one at this point. Find 2 colleges. Okay, it doesn't matter what they are. I mean, it can be in-state, out-of-state. And I want you to consider what you would call several points of comparison and contrast, and that's kind of what's mentioned here in number 2. You need to brainstorm different points of comparison and contrast that you could discuss about those topics. So if you're discussing 2 colleges and universities, you may discuss their cost. Do they differ in cost? Is one private? Is one public? Is one out of state? Is one in state? What are going to be the differences and similarities between those? Also, you can discuss their location. Again, in state, out of state. How far in distance from your home? Finally, degree programs. What degree programs would be available at those particular colleges and universities? You want to try to have at least 3 points of comparison and contrast that you can relate to both of your topics. Now, I want to scroll down. I want you to just be very careful. Notice I say incorrect here. If you choose to compare and contrast 2 universities, okay, you only are going to be discussing up to 3 to 4 points, but you need to ensure that you are consistent. Like if you discuss cost with your first choice of university, you've got to discuss cost with the second university, just like we have over here. You want to be consistent. The points you discuss about the first topic, okay, university 1, you have to discuss, the same point with your second topic, which would be the university 2. So you'll notice you'll have 3 to 4 points. They need to be the same points that you discuss about your first topic as you discuss as your second. Don't just choose random points, like with the first topic you discuss, these points, and then with the second topic you could discuss completely different ones. That's not going to be inconsistent, and that's going to be very inconsistent. I don't want that. You need to be consistent in your discussion of 2 topics in relationship to the same points. Okay, let me scroll back up. Now, you have another option. As I mentioned, you could compare and contrast 2 companies or businesses. Maybe you are currently in the workforce, or when you graduate, you're going to go into the professional world. You may be debating between two companies or businesses. You may need to take into consideration several points of comparison contrast, like their locations, their salaries, the promotional possibilities that you would have within those businesses. So think about the points that you could discuss about both those companies or businesses. Okay. As I mentioned, some of you may be considering different military branches. Okay, so you may want to take in consideration points of comparison, such as, are there requirements of education for that branch? What are the salaries? Do they vary between the branches, the positions and ranks? And also potential leadership roles that you could have available within those military branches. Finally, to cities, I know many of you may consider relocating in the future, whether it's because you're going to a particular college or university, or maybe you're going to be moving because of a job. And you may want to consider those two cities' locations, their cost of living, maybe just basic amenities like the restaurants, the entertainment venues that they have there, and other points of consideration. So as far as your topics for the comparison contrast, they need to be one of these types of topics, and you're going to choose which two colleges or universities, which companies and businesses, which military branches, which cities. But just ensure you have two topics and you consistently overview them in relationship to 3 points. Now, when you write your thesis statement, please ensure that it's very clear what your two topics are and also your points of comparison. Now, you're going to notice that you have an example essay. Okay, when you look under that module 2, okay, there's a student example. It's letter C. Okay, comparison and contrast essay, student example. Now you're going to notice that this is that example. Now I kind of highlighted just for your reference, so you would understand what I mean by reference both your topics and your points in your essay. Now, as far as this particular student, he wrote the topic of his debate of which university to attend. So he discusses first the University of South Alabama, and you can use an acronym, but make sure to use the full name of the college or the business, okay, and then have the acronym in parentheses, and then you can use the acronym for the rest of your essay. So this is topic 1, and then this topic 2 is the second university, the University of Southern Mississippi, and again, he uses an acronym here. Now, these are his two topics. He's debating which college to attend after he transfers from NGCCC. Now, he discusses both colleges in relationship to cost, because there's cost differences between those two universities. One's in-state, one's out-of-state for him. A little bit later, he discusses the location of both of those universities, the distance from his home. And then finally, he actually has a 4-point thesis. You don't have to have 4 points, but at least have 3. But he decided to kind of combine these points because they relate to each other in one paragraph. He discusses the availability of his majors at those universities, and also how those colleges really have a degree program that performs in relationship to the other, like which one's better as far as in their ranking. Now, his particular essay, it does use a structure that is called point by point, and we're going to be talking about your different structural options. But I want you to read through this as an example, and you're going to notice very quickly that he's consistent. He discusses the University of South Alabama first in every paragraph. Like USA is first in the second paragraph. It's first here in the third paragraph, and it's also first here in the fourth paragraph. So your first topic, if it's mentioned first in your introduction or your thesis statement, you have to discuss it first throughout the whole essay. If the second topic is mentioned, okay, that means that it has to be second throughout your whole essay, okay? Now, as far as the other part of the assignment, let me carry on. As I mentioned, you have 2 structural options for your essay. You have point by point, which the student example essay is point by point, okay? And you're going to notice I kind of used his points as sort of a guide. He has an introduction paragraph with his thesis. He has 3 body paragraphs where he discusses the first point costs, the second point locations, and the third point degree programs. And then he discusses them in relationship to USA and USM. Okay, he does that throughout. Now, he could have used a different structure. Now, you're going to notice with this structure, it's called the block structure. You kind of combine together 2 sets of body paragraphs. So you would still have your introduction and thesis statement as your first paragraph, but you'd have like a set of paragraphs that are about your first topic, and you would discuss the cost and the location maybe in this paragraph, and then the next one, the degree program in this paragraph. These are both paragraphs strictly about one university, which you're going to combine them to be 2 paragraphs about USA. Then the second set of paragraphs, you're discussing your second topic, and you're discussing your second topic in relationship to the same points as the previous, but there's 2 more sets. And you can reference back from the first topic, in the second topic back and forth, but you usually do that in the later paragraphs where you might say similarly to, or aforementioned, or is in the previous paragraph. You mention things like that. So I don't want you to think like you can't reference the other topic. You can, but you usually do it in those later paragraphs. Most of you are likely going to use point by point because it's more traditional to what the other essays you've written this semester, and also other classes, because it's a 3-point essay. It's just you're discussing 3 points in relationship to 2 topics. This one, you'll notice, it might end up being longer. You may not want to combine topics. You may want to have 3 paragraphs about your first topic and 3 paragraphs about your second, which that's fine. Just make sure that you discuss your points in the same order with those paragraphs. Also, please ensure that you have great details and examples about those similarities and differences. Again, remember, you know those examples because we talked about them with example illustration essay. Don't just use personal examples, use some typical case, use some hypothetical, some generalized examples in your work. If you do take research, make sure that you have a works cited page. You'll notice that student's example essay, he does take information from South Alabama's website. Now he paraphrases it so he doesn't have to put it in quotation marks. This is his language right here. And he also, you'll notice, he not only provides documentation in the text of his essay, where he had southalabama.edu behind the paraphrased information, he also has a works cited page where he gives the full publication information of that website. He does the same thing for USM because he does take information from USM's website. So just ensure if you do take information from a website, whether it's about a college, it's about a military branch, it's about a business, you do have to credit where you got that information. And you can paraphrase it in your own words, but you still have to show where you got the information, or you can directly take it from the website, but you'll have to put the language in quotation marks and then also provide the citation afterwards. Now, again, with his essay, he used the point-by-point structure, but you don't feel obligated to use the point-by-point structure. You can use the block method if you're more comfortable in doing so. And also, I have an outline provided for you. If you look back on Canvas, you're going to notice that is letter B underneath the second module, and this is what that looks like. If you want to just print this out and kind of draft out parts of your essay, do that. And this also shows you how you can structure it point by point versus how you would structure it with the block method. So maybe print out both of them and see which one's going to be the best structure for this particular essay. Also, you're going to notice that it's an interactive mapping maker. It's letter G, Read, Write, Think. It's an interactive web map maker. You can map out your comparison contrast essay with this website. I didn't make it, but it's really helpful, and it can just map out your essay and even your thesis statement. So you might find it helpful to you. Definitely print out my overview of the assignments, okay, because it does overview the topics as well as the structure. Also, you may want to print out the outline to kind of just map out your thoughts, or use the online one I mentioned. And also view the student example, because that's my student. He wrote that essay. It gives you a guide of what I'm expecting. Now, I provided other videos for you, but don't feel like you have to watch them, but they'll be beneficial to you to watch. And you also have an optional assignment for this particular essay. If you would like to have one of your classmates to peer edit your comparison and contrast essay before you submit your final draft, you may partner up with one of your classmates, and you would send your draft of your comparison and contrast essay through email or through Canvas messaging, and then your partner would also send theirs, and you're going to use essentially this peer editing sheet, which is letter H, and you're going to look over each other's work and revise and then email me the information so I see that you did it, and then you can make those revisions. And I will add 5 points to your final grade. Now, please ensure that you follow instructions of the assignment pre-submitted. email me for questions.